Hey guys, what's up? It's Evan Ross Katz, Senior Style Editor here at Mic. I am joined by an international nightlife legend, Amanda Lepore. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Actress, DJ, author, I mean, the list really goes on and on. James Franco is shook because Amanda is that much of a multi-hyphenate in terms of her talent. So we are honored to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
When Amanda Lepore goes grocery shopping, for instance, what do you wear at the grocery store?
I don't go grocery shopping. I don't have like a kitchen. I live in a hotel.
Do you ever put on like a robe, socks, just a simple look, or are you always done up on some level?
Somewhat done up, I think. I mean, I would wear like no makeup and everything to go to yoga, but like I still would have like a low-cut top or cinch waist.
A friend of yours, Kenny Valenti, said your physical transformation was driven by a feeling of never being feminine enough. How do you define femininity?
Well, I don't necessarily agree with him. I just think that you just kind of like do like little things, like, I don't know. Most transsexuals get like plastic surgery, I think, like just to be more feminine. So, I mean, I don't know. It was like available and it's just what one does.
I want to talk about your wide-ranging career and the many accomplishments that you have under your belt. And I want to start from the beginning, talking about your early days back in New Jersey. You grew up in New Jersey in the late 1970s, early 1980s. It was a really different time for trans individuals, especially trans people in the media. What was growing up like for you?
I got harassed a lot, like in school and stuff and everything. It was very different than now, you know. There wasn't like Instagram or anything like that, so people weren't really sure and kind of like afraid of it, I think. So they didn't really understand it. So I would get like harassed a lot and it didn't really have like a happy time.
I know for me, when people used to bully me growing up, they would always taunt me and call me gay, and I didn't know I was gay, so I wasn't really understanding what people were making fun of me about. When people were bullying you at the time, did you understand even where that was coming from?
Well, I did, because I was really feminine. You know, to be harassed for it was kind of like weird, because they would call me Miss Lepore or things like that. So it wasn't really insulting to me, because like I like that role. So, but at the same time, like I knew that they didn't like me. So it was strange, you know.
And I read that you spent a lot of your early days alone in the beginning. What were some of the things that you were thinking about or exploring in your youth when you were alone?
I don't know. I would just like play with dolls and just, I don't know, just escape. Maybe talk to my mother, stuff like that.
And then can you talk about meeting your first boyfriend, Michael, and the impact that he and both him and his father had on you?
The father was like more accepting than anything. Like he actually, you know, legally adopted me and had me get like my sex change and everything. So it was like really great and super open-minded, you know, for that time especially too.
You played the role of a homemaker in many senses. Was that something that you enjoyed at the time?
I kind of did, because my parents were broken up, so I didn't really have like a family life. So it was kind of, you know, weird to see like a happily married couple and with a son and everything. So it was kind of nice, I think, like and different for me.
And then when did things start to go downhill between you and Michael?
Well, he got in an accident and he had like a prescription pill problem. So I think he was like slowly getting more addicted to pills, you know. So that was like kind of like changing his, you know, personality and stuff.
Had you always had aspirations of coming to the city?
Kind of, but like I was okay in Jersey at that time. You know, I just wanted to work as like a mall or something and do makeup or something. I didn't really have any ambitions so much. You know, I just wanted to be a pretty girl and left alone.
Can you paint for us the New York City that you arrived into in 1989?
Well, I was kind of sheltered. It was really hard for me to just like find the streets and, you know, the subways. It was very confusing and really hard for me.
Did the excitement of the city, sort of like the hustle and bustle, was that something that you enjoyed right away, or did it take some adjustment?
It was scary to me. It was more scared. It wasn't like a party right away, you know, until I got like adjusted more.
When did nightlife first come into your life?
Kenny Valenti actually took me to Disco 2000 on my birthday, And by that time I worked as a dominatrix, so I had like a whole look. So I kind of had like a club look to begin with and everything. And they hired me, Michael Alec actually hired me as a go-go dancer.
When did you first start to feel Amanda Lepore becoming a presence that people would come to the club specifically to see?
In the beginning, kind of, I was like girl of the minute. I kind of was ruling really from the get-go.
As you started to achieve this more mainstream success at that point, and more people were talking about you, there was this fixation on your body and conversations around surgery. What were your thoughts on people asking those questions? Did you ever find those conversations too invasive?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't mind. I was like an open book, so I didn't really mind talking about it. But I think like the fashion and art world got interested in me when I was going out naked a lot.
Yeah.
Like I think like nobody really did that before. People really liked it.
And I read that it was David LaChapelle that really gave you the confidence in the beginning to say, Amanda, we want you to come out naked.
He loved me naked. You know? He thought that I looked better without clothes.
So when did you first meet David LaChapelle?
I met him at Bowery Bar, and before we knew each other, he was kind of obsessed in art school about drawing like a girl that looked like me. He wanted to photograph me that weekend, and we did the Snorting the Diamonds for Visionaire, and then we did editorial in Flaunt magazine or some fashion magazine.
Had you ever modeled at that sort of capacity before with the glamour that David LaChapelle brings to his shoots?
No, I mean, he was like photographer of the year around then, so I knew who he was. So I was like really floored that he wanted to use me and didn't. I thought it was like a one-time thing, you know, like I didn't know that it would just keep on going.
And I want to talk about your time walking for Heatherette. I love the work of Heatherette and your work on the runway. At what point did you sort of start to see your career going into more of a fashion lane? You know, because we had the Jason Wu doll, your partnership with Swatch. You've just done so many things that are fashion adjacent. Would you say LaChapelle really ushered that in? Or
I think David, what we did together, like lots of successful fashion stuff. A lot of people hated me, and then there was people that liked me, but all the good people liked me, so it didn't really matter.
I want to talk about your appearance on the Tyra Banks show from about a decade ago. I was rewatching it recently, and just watching the audience's reaction and Tyra's general treatment of you, it felt a little bit like she was treating you like a character and not so much a human being. That was from my perception. Almost like sort of a carnival act. And I'm curious what your thoughts were coming on the show. I thought you did a really great job of representing yourself, but did you feel in that moment like you were being brought on the show to really depict you in a positive light?
I didn't know what she was doing, but when I watched the show, I think that she seemed so much more fake than me.
Was it difficult being around audience members and just seeing their sort of sneers, and there just seemed to be this reaction from them that they weren't treating you like a human being? I found that really jarring watching it.
I don't know. I have like a really good thing of, maybe it was from being harassed as a kid, but like I ignore people, so I didn't even notice the audience. I would have to take a better look, so I don't know. I just was focusing on her and like talking to her.
And I feel like America had a really big obsession with club kids during this time. I know on the Joan Rivers show and various talk shows, club kids were often featured. What were your thoughts on mainstream cultures trying to understand club culture?
I was just like thrown into it because I worked, I think, at Limelight for 2 weeks, and then I did the Joan Rivers show. It was just like fun to be on TV, I guess. A little scary, but like, you know, it was fun. I was nervous, very nervous.
What was the landscape like at the time of trans individuals in the media? Were you seeing other trans individuals in movies, in films, in the culture at all?
I didn't know too much, like maybe Candy Darling, or I would look at old books and stuff, like Costinelle from Paris, like I was really interested in because she was so much more glamorous than Christine Jorgensen, I think. And Tula was really big. I mean, it was more after I transitioned, like a Tula, you know, was really popular in like the thing. They usually like had like one person every 10 years, I think.
Obviously, we've come a long way in terms of having trans actresses, trans people in sports, trans people in medicine, trans people in all facets of many industries, and a greater understanding and appreciation of trans people's place in society today. What has it been like watching that change over the past couple of decades?
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, everybody should be accepted, but I think it has a lot to do with like Instagram and social media and stuff and everything, which is really great for everything because like anybody could find what they're looking for and identify, like especially for kids growing up in like small places and stuff and everything, they could find anything. I think it's just everything became like more accepted and known. I think like it's, you know, not so underground because it's so available.
Now, you said that in the past that you feel a deep connection to the show RuPaul's Drag Race. What are your thoughts on Drag Race's relationship with trans women?
I think that anybody that dresses as a woman has to somewhat feel like a girl, you know, just to get all dressed up like that. I always like drag and bio women and, you know, like bio queens and all that. I like dressing up and fantasy and everything, and I think it's just more interesting people.
What are your thoughts with regard to the ways in which trans women might use drag as a form to help them affirm or solidify their identity?
Well, you could express yourself and make money, I guess, and, you know, just see how far you want to go, I guess.
So let's talk about your music. Obviously, you've been DJing for a long time. You have this new EP out now. What was your first foray into creating your own music?
Well, Caswell actually said that he wanted to write something for me, and he wrote Champagne, and that people were leery of it, kind of, because I never really did anything. It was like more just modeling and stuff and everything. So, but then they actually thought it was good. So then we did like a whole album and everything, and I really enjoyed it because I always got like booked to like do things.
What stands out for you as being the thing that you want people to take away from Amanda Lepore?
Probably glamour, I think, and
Yeah.
like escapism and parties and everything great.
Besides the EP, what is next for you?
Well, just performing. I'd like to make bigger shows, I think. Like a Vegas show would be really interesting.
Ooh.
With like big, you know, like sets and things and everything elaborate. I always wanted to do that. Hopefully someone will have lots of money.